Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Oak City Tech is going to help you get found in the loud and busy digital world, folks. There's a lot of people putting a lot of stuff out there. You need a professional place like Oak City Tech to help you get found. If you'll go to oakcitytech.com, tell them what you're looking for, they will be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Glad to have you back on Triangle BNI. Each week, we bring you a successful small business story from Triangle BNI. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. Each week, about 30 chapters and almost 600 members get together, and we are there to help each other grow their businesses. And our special guest today, successful small business owner, Neal Isaacs, the managing partner of VR Business Brokers. Neal, how are you today?
Feels like we made it, Mike. I'm so glad to be talking with you today, my friend. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. We are in the middle of November, and in a nutshell, you sell other people's businesses, which
Couldn't have
may in
said it better
fact,
myself.
it's a lot of fun. It's not always easy sometimes, but now we throw COVID into the mix. What's been the last few months or 6 months like for you in this industry?
Oh, is something going on? What's this COVID you speak of? I love playing ignorant with COVID because it's such a permeating,
Yeah.
all-encompassing, affecting everything and every business and everyone. Mostly bad, sometimes good, but it's amazing how most people didn't see this coming. It is hurting small business owners in a massive way that I think it's gonna be the COVID decade. Handily, Mike. I think this is going to go on and on and on. I don't think we even know how deep this economic story is. There's obviously a medical component, which is tragic, and but I'm not a doctor. I'm a business broker, and I help owners with their options for exit. And unfortunately, a lot of owners had an exit plan, and it got derailed by COVID. That's the raw truth and sad story. That's how COVID has affected business brokerage.
And I agree with you. I believe there will be a medical vaccine long before there's an economic vaccine.
Yeah. Yeah. The economic vaccine of the PPP and the EIDL loans was actually good.
Mm.
And it's kind of where we're at right here in November. Not much is happening on that front. But it's interesting to see how we kind of had, in the beginning of COVID, people were put on intubators. And I was kind of saying, like, I think businesses are kind of intubated right now. This is an artificial way that businesses are being sustained, but it's not a long-term solution. And I think only now are we starting to see how businesses are going to perform in this new norm economy that we're living through. Some
And
have done very well.
well, good. And I think a lot of the folks that are going to come through COVID personally and professionally have found a way to manage it because there's really no way to beat it because it's here. And I agree with you. I think it's going to be here a lot longer than some people think, even when a vaccine shows up to
Yeah.
help folks that way. But you've had to be more creative. You've seen businesses start a new stream of revenue, or these restaurants that rarely did takeout are doing a lot of takeout now.
Yeah.
And I think it's the folks that have been able to sit down and think, what about this? Let's try this, with the sole purpose of how do we help our customers through this? I think those are the ones that are going to make it through.
Absolutely. And, what a novel thought that we focus on the customer and we find success. But that is, you have to put yourself in the customer's shoes. If they're afraid to go into a store, you got to bring it to the curbside. If they're comfortably ordering online, you got to make it available online. So it comes back to being adaptive and quick and getting it in a new and safe way. And some people are managing to do that.
For the
You know who's
first
doing
time.
really well right now are the home service
Oh, yeah.
industries.
Oh, yeah.
People spend time in their home. They're looking around. They're like, I want a new deck. I want a power wash. I
Yeah.
want a new roof. Whatever it is, the home service sector seems to be doing very, very well.
Yeah, last week for the first time, I think it was the first time during COVID that I've had to get anything dry cleaned,
Yeah,
and that's only because we have a wedding to go to in 2 weeks. One of our nieces is getting married, and even then, you couldn't walk in the front door, you had to do drive-through, and there was a basket outside of the side door of the drive-through. And again, just, okay, we want you to keep coming by, but how can we be safe?
yeah.
How can we keep you comfortable knowing that there'll be a distance between everything? But it was, I guess we're all getting used to it because I just kind of looked at it and went, okay, let me just drop this stuff off here.
It's interesting you mentioned dry cleaning. First of all, I sold a 7-unit dry cleaning drop center with a plant in February, March. That was an interesting deal. Um, but secondly, I know you have a pretty intimate knowledge with the coin laundry business based on some of your previous entrepreneurial deals. Dry cleaning and coin laundry businesses are related but totally different.
Mm.
And coin laundry has done very consistent, if not better. And dry cleaning has really suffered through the same economic period.
Oh, yeah, because I go out of the house twice a week, one to the store, one to do another podcast that Trinity and I do for Wired to Change. But so I don't really need that many clothes. It's just, washing the regular stuff. But I've not put on, because normally, well, before COVID, I would wear a dress shirt and a vest.
Mhm.
And first time I put on a vest was last week. I got chosen as one of the mentors for the Launch Holly Springs program. And it was the speed dating where the mentees and the mentors show up online and you meet with everybody.
Yeah,
That was the first time I put on a vest since I think about long around March 23rd. So I've not had to get anything dry cleaned. And it's been interesting for the businesses that you don't revisit that was a part of your life. You just really hadn't thought about it too much.
and how did that vest fit? By the way, was it a little snug?
No, well, 2 months ago it would have been. Today, no, I'm over it. I'm tired of. Yeah, I had that. It was
I,
it was
I
wor- it was
I
worse.
gained the quarantine 15 or whatever they call it, and I'm the same. I've been working it back off.
Yeah.
This is the new norm. Like we can't
Yep.
just assume that.
And
Yeah,
and normally we have aha moments because we associate those with things you learn and go, oh, that's it. Where I had that oh crap moment standing in front of the
yeah.
mirror one day, or actually I put a t-shirt on, one of my favorites, and it was getting snug. It's like, all right, I got to do something. I started calorie counting and just kind of watching stuff, and it's worked so far. So I'm pleased with the progress I'm making. But everybody's routine is changed right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And staying on that tangent for just one more minute about the quarantine 15 and just this new lifestyle. One thing that I did to kind of turn that curve, I started to write down. I'm holding my iPad pencil here. Write down everything that I ate, and that alone made me hyper aware of what I was consuming and the new patterns that we're creating. It just made me more in tune with it. And I think that's a lesson that you can apply to any business, just to be cognizant of what you're doing and to document, have a plan. I mean, all these are lessons that are parallel or personal or business stories.
Yeah, when we work with our coaching clients, once we get them to put it down on paper, boy, things become very clear. And
Yeah,
back to your thing about writing calories, there's an app I use called MyFitnessPal. And so I just
yeah.
type in literally what I ate with the brand name and up pops all the, nutrition information and I can track it that way. And you're right. Once you look at it for a couple of days, you're like, oh, now I know why.
I interviewed one of my past clients, and it's on my YouTube page now. And he lost 70 pounds since we sold his business, or while we started to sell it, it took 4 months to sell his business, and then since then, it's been a few more months. But I barely recognized him. On Zoom, I did this on Zoom. I can only see his face,
Mhm.
but I can see how much weight he's lost. And I didn't get into how he did it, but I mean, people can affect change even this in this new environment that we're in.
And
It
Zoom
takes a
is
plan.
funny. Yeah, you bring that up. We had a guest about a month and a half ago on our other podcast, and again, she's a. I have my COVID friends, and the only way I know them is through Zoom. So I jokingly call them my COVID friends. And so this was the first time I'd met her face to face, and I met her outside the studio, and she goes, "Huh, you're taller than I thought." I said, "I don't know how to take that, but thanks. I think so."
Yeah,
I look at you in your world. You're kind of like you're a matchmaker. You're hoping a first date turns into a marriage.
absolutely, absolutely. And I view myself very much as a matchmaker. My seller clients, my owners that want to make this change, they're focused on running their business and and getting to the next level. And they don't have time to go out and to follow that analogy to put together a nice profile and date a bunch of people that aren't the good fit. They're relying on me to put their best foot forward and package their business confidentially and not waste their time with potential suitors or business buyers that are just going to waste their time and potentially share confidential information. But a lot of buyers have no business buying a business. It's my role. Part of my role is keeping those folks out. So yeah, very much. I'm a matchmaker of buyers and sellers of small businesses.
And for those who have never owned a small business, and obviously they've never tried to sell one, you on your LinkedIn profile, you have some stuff that's clearly written out. And one of the things you talk about, I just pulled the verbiage here. It says, unlike selling a house, you can't put a sign in the yard when you want to sell your business because it's nobody's information at that point, especially the employees, the landlord, the vendors, or your clients to know that yet.
Yeah. Yeah. How that dry cleaner that you go to,
Yep.
how comfortable are you dropping off your suit if there's a for sale sign in the window? Do you think are you going to be worried about getting your suit back?
Just a tick, yes.
What if you go to the sushi place and there's a sign in the window that says we're trying to sell this thing? How confident are you that that sushi is going to be the top notch, highest quality of ingredients?
Yes.
Maybe they're focused on other things.
Yes.
So that's how it's different than real estate. There's this weird secrecy. Sometimes I
Mhm.
feel like a divorce attorney because I'm
Yep.
having these conversations with owners, but they're letting me into their world and they don't want other people to know and until the time is right, until it's the right person.
Yeah, because generally when we see a for sale sign in front of a house, we think, oh, they must be moving to a bigger house, or maybe they got a promotion and they're moving to Chicago and they're making more money. Usually, though, it's associated with, oh, something good must have happened that they're doing this. But with businesses, you're right. It's the exact opposite.
Yeah, sometimes people say, "Hey, Neil, this business they're actively marketing themselves, or there's a for sale sign in the window, and that's a great opportunity for you." And it's kind of like the for sale by owner with the real estate. Usually, there's a something's gone horribly wrong if they're putting it out there and they've given up a lot of the goodwill already if they've taken that step. But Mike, I love this topic of real estate deals versus business brokerage deals because in a lot of ways, business brokerage is like the redheaded stepchild of real estate. It's similar in a lot of ways. And a lot of people don't know what business brokerage is. So real estate is the easiest window to look through, but it's different in so many ways. For instance, that home that someone's trying to sell, does the new owner care about what the old owner did in that home or the story of the previous family in that home?
No, the only thing they really care about is the price and the home inspection.
When you sell a business, do you think the new business owner cares about the story of the business origin and how the original owner built their team and who's going to stay behind after the owner leaves? All of that stuff is hugely important.
Oh, yeah.
So In business deals, we do lots and lots of meetings between the buyer and the seller, and that's something you don't do anything about. And in fact, in real estate, you keep the buyer and seller as far apart as possible. So they're similar, but they're very, very different.
We are here with Neal Isaacs, managing partner at VR Business Brokers. Neal is a part of RD48. They meet Thursday mornings at 8:15. It's called BNI Next Level. When in person, they meet at the Maiden Inn in Cary. Right now, it's all Zoom, but if you have a Thursday morning available at 8:15, please go join their group. They have some good connectors, some successful business people, and a couple of characters, which is exactly what you want in each BNI group. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Folks, you need a mailing list. You have all these client names. What do you do with them if they're on a blank sheet of paper or another sheet of paper that they're not connected? You don't know what to do with. You're wasting that knowledge. You want to put that list together, start a mailing list so you can stay in touch with your current and former and potential clients. Please go to oakcitytech.com and let them know that's what you're looking for, and they will help you. All right, Neal, the biggest question, which I should have led the show with, is how is Avery doing today?
Oh man, Avery is doing great. When I dropped him off this morning at daycare, and Mama got him a shirt that says, "Mr. Steal Your Girl."
Now,
So
for those of you not aware, Avery is Neal's son, about a year and two-ish months, 2+
you're good,
months.
yeah. Right at
Yep.
14 months.
Yep. And that's yeah, you throw a kid in the mix now, and that changes sleep patterns and thought processes. And once they start walking, now you got to raise everything in the house up, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. I'm really leaning into the new dad thing. I'm loving it. It's
Yep.
a game changer. Highly recommend it.
Man, when they come give you a hug, you just melt. And you think, I'll never
Absolutely.
melt this strong again until they give you the next hug. And
Yeah.
they curl up next to you or come with the book, Daddy, read me a book. And just like, oh man, this just keeps getting better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, and it really reprioritizes how you spend your time and why you do everything that you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, I always like to ask guests on the show that are married. So I will ask you, how did you and Vivian meet? And do you both tell the story the same way?
Yeah, I think we both tell the story the same way. I was running my first business selling Nemo and Dory. I had my tropical fish store, and I didn't want to date one of my customers. So I went online and I found Vivian through one of these dating sites, and it wasn't like a Match.com. I don't remember which site it was, but I think both of us were in the same camp of we don't drink, um, we don't go party at bars. We weren't gonna meet each other at a bar or at a social gathering. So that was the most pragmatic way for us to meet, and it did its job. I'm so grateful that we connected in that format. And the only other part of that story I think is interesting is, Vivian is a Vietnamese immigrant. We've been together for 15 years now. I've been in the Triangle for 16 years. I met her 1 year in, and she had just immigrated like 1 year before. So when we met, her English was she's still working on her English, and we chatted. The first few weeks of our relationship was through chat. We got to know each other through chat before we started to communicate verbally. And I think that's a great way to meet someone.
Where was the first date?
Officially, the first date was the North Carolina Fair.
Nice
That's a little
call.
something we don't have anymore.
Yeah. But they did have, I don't know if people know this, it was it at, not at Dorton Arena, but somewhere there, they had the food of the fair a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, I did see that. That's a great way to bring a piece of the fair to the people, because a lot of
Oh,
people, that's what they care about the most. It
oh,
makes
that's
sense.
half the fun. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so the first date was at the fair.
First date was at the fair, and it's funny because, new things in a relationship, you kind of build a lot of importance around them. And we're like, we're going to do this every year. This will be our annual trip. And we did that like twice maybe, and then we're like, let's pick a new tradition because
Where she grew up, do they have fairs and stuff like that there?
I think they did. I'm sure it was different. I would love to go to Vietnam, and she's from Nha Trang. Um, so I'm sure they have stuff like that. But a lot of that was new and exciting for her to take her to the North Carolina Fair is its own thing.
Oh, yeah. Now I know you gave, I believe you gave Avery Vivian's maiden name.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
What have you learned of the Vietnamese culture since you two have been together?
Well, the Vietnamese culture is an extremely caring and compassionate culture. And I like to joke that when her and her family are getting into it, it's like her mom's trying to give her more food than she wants. That's the type of stuff that they fight about or have get into things about. And if you've ever seen El Camino, then it's a Clint Eastwood movie where he's got a neighbor and they're Vietnamese, and they come over and are just like pouring food in front of him, and he can't eat enough food, and it's kind of a trope. Like there's some truth in that trope. So a very caring, and they express caring by giving, and so it's a wonderful culture, and I feel lucky to be a part of it.
My sister married into a big Italian family, and it's the same thing, man. It's just
Yeah.
there's always food.
Yeah.
There's noise in a good, in a loving way, because that's their currency. Is
Sure.
the voices get raised, but it's all out of love because they're arguing, and then they hug and okay, let's sit down and eat. But there's always food, which is never bad.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I do like some of it. I like the spring rolls. Um, the bubble teas are it's not a Vietnamese thing, but it's an Asian thing that's becoming popular here. We do that a lot. But I'm not a fan of the fish sauce. Are you familiar with the fish sauce?
Nope.
Fish sauce is a uniquely Vietnamese thing. And I came here and I had my tropical fish business, and I was keenly aware about the smells involved with fish and the different things that fish go through. So when my wife told me the origin story of fish sauce in detail and the fermentation and everything, probably before I even tasted it, I was ruined on fish sauce. So that is an issue that we manage.
Is there a big Vietnamese community here in the Triangle?
Not a huge community, but there's a decent amount of Vietnamese folks, and it's a good thing. When my wife's parents need a professional, they can find a Vietnamese real estate agent or a Vietnamese accountant or somebody that can speak their language and explain to them nuances that I certainly couldn't convey. We can communicate, but when it comes to specifics, sometimes you want to work with somebody who can speak your own language. So we've got enough there.
Are you fluent?
Not even close.
When the family comes over to the house, are you like left out of the conversations?
Yes, but I'm totally fine with that. I love to see the grandparents come over. You know what? You don't need to speak a language to see a grandparent
Yep,
enjoy time with a grandchild. No, you don't need words for that.
I know that. Yep.
So I enjoy that. But yeah, a lot of times she's going to give me the debriefing after they leave of what they talked about.
Nice. Now, you said you two met when you owned Aquatica.
Yeah,
That's what got you here to the Triangle in 2003?
that's correct. That's correct. So I was my first fun after college job was at Ripley's Aquarium of the Smokies, where I was a shark diver, and that was a really fun job at a public aquarium where they had sharks in a big aquarium, and I was working there, and I'd been there for about 3 years, but I'd grown up in a pet store, and I'd always had this dream to have my own pet store. And one of my friends told me that they had found business for sale in Raleigh. It was listed as Raleigh. It's really Garner.
Yeah.
Um, but I was glad. I don't know if you want to call it misrepresentation, but I was glad that worked out because, as you know, I've grown to love Garner.
Yes.
But that's what happened. I told my shark diving boss that I was going to quit and move to Raleigh, North Carolina, to open a tropical fish store, and he was like, "Whatever, dude." Actually, he was kind of sad to see me go. Um, he was a great boss, but I just picked up and moved up here pretty quickly. Took a chance on entrepreneurship. I was extremely fortunate to step into the shell of a business, and it saved me. I could tell it was going to save me months or years in getting started up for my small business. And I saw the value there, and it was a great ride for about 5 years. I really cut my teeth on small business through that tropical fish store.
All right. I don't want to bury the lead in this story of you buying your first business, but can you give us a legitimate description of a shark diver?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So picture an aquarium the size of a football field, about 750,000 gallons, and and they have aquariums like this all over, public and private aquariums. And you have sharks in these aquariums that are just basically going in circles, and they live in this aquarium. This particular one had a tunnel, which is an acrylic dome, and through that tunnel, if you think about an airport, they have the people movers.
Mhm.
People would get in a people mover and a conveyor belt essentially and go through this whole tunnel. They'd look up at sharks, and the sharks would be circling, and there's other fish and turtles and flora and fauna. But the sharks create waste, and it collects on these tunnels. So the tunnels have to be cleaned. So there's two types of divers that would go in every morning at like 9 o'clock. And one diver was the cleaner diver, and they would just clean this acrylic tunnel and get the detritus off of this tunnel. And then there would always be two other divers, and they were just called shark divers. And it was their role, and this is what I did every morning at 9 o'clock, to keep the sharks away from the cleaners.
Oh,
And
you're like the rodeo cowboy.
pretty much. So the way that worked is you just got in there, and when your tool to do this was a piece of PVC, it looked like this pin I'm holding, and it was wrapped in black electrical tape, and it was about 4 feet long. That's all you had. You had your scuba gear, and you had your PVC hole. And if and when sharks would come towards you or too close to this cleaner person, you would put this piece of PVC right on the nostrum of the shark. And sharks have what's called ampules of Lorenzii all along their rostrum. You didn't know you're going to get marine biology facts when you tuned in today, but here we are.
No, because I just think you're making up words because I have no idea if they're right.
Sharks are extremely sensitive around the rostrum area.
Yes.
A lot of
Because
nerve endings in there. So
yep.
if and when they would come too close, you would just put that piece of PVC. The black and white was kind of a trigger, but really they just did not like to be touched. And you could kind of steer a shark if you were gentle and just kind of push them away. So that was my role. These sharks were sand tigers. Um, Carcarius taurus was the genus and species of these fishes, and they're excellent aquarium fishes because they look menacing. There's teeth just kind of falling out of their mouth, but they're actually just scavengers. So they weren't like bloodthirsty sharks. They weren't trying to rip us up, and they looked extremely menacing, and they could definitely hurt people, but they weren't trying to hurt people. So it was pretty amazing gig. I really enjoyed it. We never had any significant issues, but there were some times where if the sharks were in a bad mood, we would just get out of the water. That was the rule. It was their tank. They let us swim in there. But if they didn't want us in there, then we would give them the space back.
That
Long
had to
answer, but that's what a shark diver does.
that had to have been a great pickup line with the women. I battle sharks on a daily basis.
It was a great gig. I really enjoyed it. And I got one more story I want to share with you about my
Right.
aquarium days.
All right, hold that thought then.
Okay, I'll
Hold
tease
that
that
thought.
one.
Yep, we are here with Neal Isaacs. He is the managing partner at VR Business Brokers. He helps people, small business owners sell their business. Neal is in RD48. It's called BNI Next Level. They meet Thursday mornings at 8:15. Right now, it's all by Zoom. So if you're looking to meet a good group, please go to trianglebni.com and you'll find out the Zoom link there. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Social media, folks, it's the new way of the world. If you're a little slow and a little old like me, you got to learn to pick up on things, and you got to get your message out to the masses. Social media is a great way to do it. You can have fun. You can learn. Neal's very good at that as well. Oak City Tech can help you do that. It's not that hard, but there's some time involved, and they can certainly make that easier for you. Probably do it better than most of us do. So go to oakcitytech.com and tell them what you're looking for, and I know they'll be able to help you. All right, Neal. So off with your last story.
That was the teaser. So here's the story. Everybody's got their 9/11 story. Where were you? That was my generation's Kennedy moment, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Well, I'll tell you where I was. It was, remember, 9/11 happened early in the morning,
yeah. Mhm.
and we were going into to do our morning shark dive. So I remember very, very well. There was a kind of a lagoon, like a safe area before we went into the shark tank. And we were getting our scuba gear on. We were about to go into the shark tank. And on the news at that time was one tower had been hit.
Yep.
And if you remember, it's been a long time, but there's just some uncertainty until that second tower was hit. Like, what's going on? Was it an accident? So we were in the lagoon just talking about, oh, what's going on? We always had a medical person on staff that would watch the dive from the tunnel in case something went south. A medical person was a part of this dive. So I remember it's almost 9 or 9:30, whenever we're about to go in, and we're talking about what's going on with this weird thing in New York. And the medical person runs up and says, "Second tower just went down. It's definitely terrorism." And we're like, 9:30, time to go in the shark tank.
Hmm.
So my memory of 9/11 was going underwater. It was 8 or 10 10-foot sharks. Well, they were eight plus feet long, and just thinking, how ironic is it that right here in this space with sharks circling, this is my safe zone. I don't know what's happening in the outside world right now, but this is what I do every day. This is normal for me, and I'm really glad to be in my safe zone right here, surrounded with sharks. So I just think that's an interesting 9/11 story.
Yeah. No, I remember where I was too. We'd just come back up to my office after a meeting and had the same thing, saw that first tower, saw the smoke coming out. And you're like, all right, so that high up, what happened? And then next thing you know, here comes the second plane. So
Yeah,
I'm with you. That's a moment for me as well. Uh,
yeah,
Shifting gears here back to BNI.
absolutely.
You just recently joined. We say recently, in the last couple of months or last few
Couple months.
months.
Yeah,
Yeah, RD48. What got you into BNI? And I think you're one of two, maybe three business brokers in BNI.
yeah, yeah. Myself, I know Ray Canoy is a great
Mhm.
business broker in
Yep.
BNI here in the Triangle Market. When I This is my second BNI that I've been a member of. When I first started my practice, I joined a BNI, and it was closer to Durham. It was actually in Durham, and it was a great group. And I go back and visit as much as I can. But when that term started to end, I was looking to get something that was a little bit closer to to my side of town. And recently, I had reaffiliated with my broker in charge. And he was in the BNI that I'm in now, next level. And Scott Corbin is
Mhm.
my broker in charge. He was like, "Why are you not in this group?" And so he kind of raised this opportunity. And I visited this group a number of times, and I thought, wow, powerful. The real estate, The family law attorney did me and Vivian's will. I've worked with the CPA on some appraisal work. Like I was already doing business with so many folks in this group. It just seemed like a natural fit. So, I took to it like a shark diver in a Shark Tank.
I was waiting for that one. And I've
It was such a
yep.
natural thing for me to get back into it.
And as a consulting director for BNI, I've had this conversation with people before that they were already doing business with someone in that chapter. And they would ask me, well, why? I already do a bunch of business with them. Why would I join that chapter? And the only thing I tell them is, don't you want to protect that relationship? Because what if a competitor of yours comes in there? You
Yeah,
may lose it, you may not, but wouldn't you want to stay real close to one of your bigger referral partners and just make sure that relationship is solid for as long as you can?
absolutely, absolutely. And also, I think business brokerage is a little bit different in that because there's only two of us or a low number. I love to visit other groups
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. And in that first stint with BNI, the the opportunities I found were quite often in other groups. And one of them, actually, I sold a business that was in another group, and that particular owner who sold her business and relocated, I think she felt more comfortable working with a broker outside of her group
Yep.
because of the nature of what we do.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's important to, you've heard me say put a ring on it. You have to commit to BNI and really develop a home team, but then you have to also farm the rest of your community in BNI. I think that's really important.
For some of the folks that are listening that may or watching that may be thinking about selling their business, what are a couple things you want them to kind of get in order? Because you want to, and we can get into this in a minute, because a lot of people think, oh, I'll just call somebody and sell it. And your books need to be your stuff's got to be in order. For
Yes.
because again, they need to think of, if I was going to buy this, would I buy it just as it looks today?
Yeah.
There's your answer right there. But what are a couple things they can do to kind of tidy some things up and get things in order if they're looking down the road to sell the business?
There's a few key things to focus on. The financial clarity is so important. And it's something that people always set out when they start a new business. They throw together their chart of accounts and they're like, okay, I got my books in order. And then it's one of the first things they let go of. But it's extremely important because if someone's going to buy your business, they want to know how much money they make. And sure, you could tell them, but they're going to want to validate it.
Mm,
The financial story has got to make sense.
yep.
So that's one thing that we spend a lot of time with owners on. Like, how is this going to look? Can we tell this financial story? The other thing is to run the business from the owner's seat. So many owners are operating members of their firm. The business is all about them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You can make a good living and have great margins with that. But if you have more options for exit, if you can delegate, put people in some chairs, and make the argument that I can step out and this business will operate without me. This is a scalable business. I have a team. People are basically buying the business for the cash flow and the team that you build and some type of goodwill or brand equity. So if owners can get those two things in order, they got to make money. But if you can have good books and records and build a good team of which you're not 100% need to be there, outsource some of that, then you've got a pretty good chance of attracting buyers to your business.
Yeah, because I know with my chiropractor, Dr. Ashley, I go to her and I've told her, where you go, I go. And that's the case now because she went out on her own. So if she were to sell her business, I'm like, don't know if I'll stay, don't know if I'll go. So I agree with your point 100%. If you are the face of the business, sometimes it's tough to sell.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Agreed.
But it's something to think about. Like maybe if you're going to run your business for 20 years,
Mm,
maybe in the last 5 years, that's when you start to invest in partners and training people to succeed you. Just to have that in mind. It's it might just give you, you could, there's a couple ways to exit a business, right? There's multiple ways, but you could just get more selective on the types of clients that you serve and get smaller, or you do have the opportunity to sell the business if you take these proactive steps.
Yes, agreed. Now, you got a master's degree from NC State in marketing and innovative management.
Mhm.
What in the world is that? Innovative management?
I really enjoyed my time at the Poole College of Management, and the other students there were people that were kind of stuck in some type of management role, and they were trying to get to the next level. I was the only guy that had just sold a tropical fish store and was searching for the next thing. When I sold my fish store, it was I was 30, and it was kind of like, okay, that happened. How did that happen? Let's polish this turd a little bit and get more professional. I knew that I didn't want to work in the B2C space anymore. I wanted to work with other business owners. So that business degree was was critical for me to be able to speak the CXO language. You ever heard that term CXO? It just means CEO, CMO, like
Oh,
all these
gotcha. Yep.
chief executive officer, chief whatever officer, just to be able to speak to that level.
Yep.
That's the number one thing that I gained from that MBA program, and I think it was a good use of my time. But as far as marketing and innovation, it was focused on how can you set yourself apart, and it's
Good.
definitely helped me with isolating key value propositions in the owners that I help.
Now, when you sold your business, you could not find a big ass aquarium to buy?
No, no.
Did you look for any?
When interestingly, when I sold my business, I had a bunch of aquariums like in my home. I had, I mean, I was living. I had made my recreation my occupation, and I still had some of that.
No,
So I had
no, no,
enough
like
going on.
Ripley's where you came from, one of
Oh, I
those.
see. No, that's totally different model. Totally different model. The Ripley's, they came to you. And in my model, people came and brought their own aquariums into their homes.
You were done swimming with the sharks, right?
Done swimming.
Literally and figuratively. So now you got your undergrad at Clemson. So a couple questions here. First of all, when state plays Clemson in football, who do you root for?
I, you're not going to like the answer, but I really don't follow either of them.
Okay.
Uh,
Now,
yeah, I've never really followed college sports, but I should.
okay. Yeah, now would be a good time to follow Clemson,
Yeah.
be jumping on that bandwagon. Yeah. Your undergrad is in biological sciences.
Yeah.
It's an honorary degree via thesis, and I cannot pronounce the two names of
Oh,
what
Pathophora etigonia. Yeah.
Pithophora,
Etigonia.
Etigonia. What? Okay, what is that?
So when I was, we're going way back, but when I did my undergraduate degree, I had this opportunity to shadow one of the senior biologists there at Clemson, and it was a study of waters around a lake that had been polluted, and Pathophora etigonia was this algae that was growing. And we did a pretty extensive survey of what was happening with the algae and the reproductive akinets that they were producing, and studying this stuff through microscopes and documenting all of this. It was a pretty amazing study into how bad that problem was. And I went to some town meetings where people that lived around this lake, their livelihood was being affected. And I wrote basically a mini thesis around this ecological problem. And interestingly enough, looking back on that, that taught me that I did not want to pursue my PhD, because that was kind of a snapshot of what doctorates go through. And I was not ready for that. So at that point, I entered the workforce and I did some other stuff, and did not pursue my PhD. But I was really glad I got that kind of sneak peek at what that line of work looked like.
Did you enjoy the learning of the content?
Absolutely, absolutely. I like to joke that I was a minority at Clemson, in that I was there to learn. I was such a nerd in college. I soaked up every bit of the educational point. I was not really a party guy. So all of that stuff, I just ate it up. I really enjoyed being around smart people, learning new things. That was a very fun time for me.
We are here with Neal Isaacs, managing partner of VR Business Brokers, member of RD48 and BNI, called The Next Level. They meet Thursday mornings at 8:15. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Folks, you need a website. Got to have a website, got to have social media, need a mailing list. You got to have all that together so people can find you. You may have the greatest product in the world, but if they can't find you, it's going to be difficult to do business. So go to oakcitytech.com, tell them what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. All right, Neal. So you're a self proclaimed nerd. You've got about 18 letters after your name for all these certifications, everything like that. What does a nerdy, successful, goofy business guy like you do for fun then?
Well, family's always first. I have always been a bike rider, so I ride a road bike. In college, I did the mountain bike thing, but I've really shifted over to the road bike thing. But I put my I kind of have these three spheres, and it's family, business, and health. So I'm always trying to balance those three. When I have free time, if my wife and my toddler are around, I try and focus on that as much as possible. And I also try and carve out some time to go ride my bike. I used to play a lot of chess. I do less of that now, but I kind of miss that. That was my other hobby for a while. I plan to get back to chess when I'm an old man. I'm going to play chess at the park, and
There you go.
but mainly ride my bike is what I do for fun.
I take any chance I get to bring up my grandson Oliver, who will be here this weekend, by the way, on Saturday by about
Yeah,
lunch. And I can't wait. And I found, which I know you found with Avery, is the exercise you get chasing someone with that much energy around the house. And those waves of energy just don't stop.
yeah. Well, we still get nap time, which we're going to miss when he grows
Both
out
of
of
you,
that. Yeah,
right? You
yeah.
nap
So they
sometimes
do
too.
stop. They do stop for nap time. So we're
Yeah.
enjoying that. But I understand that doesn't last forever.
No, our youngest son, because it's been, see, my youngest son is, what's Cameron? He's 30. So it's been 27, 28 years since I've had a 2 or 3 year old in the house.
Yeah.
So when Oliver comes to visit, just the waves of energy when they're awake, it never
Yeah.
stops. And we're like, I tell people with the adults, we're like WWE wrestling. We're just tagging each other in and out.
Yeah.
Hey, it's been a half hour. I got to take a break here.
Yeah.
But it's just, I love that part of it and just the curiosity when they learn to do something, just a look on
Absolutely.
their face and just, okay, new level here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're constantly opening that box and discovering what's inside. It's amazing.
I've also learned that, and Oliver and I don't know what their generation are. They Gen
I don't
double
know.
A or whatever it is, or whoever it is, but they're going to grow up with social media and electronics. I mean, Oliver must pose for 10 pictures a day. And
Yeah.
that's what they'll know is like, oh yeah, another picture. Okay. And I laugh in a couple of years, I'll be able to hand him my phone and he'll reprogram it for me if I'm having a problem.
It is scary the magnetism towards the phones. Because I
Hmm.
mean, Avery's 14 months. We're not giving him a phone, but we have our phones, and he'll be running towards you. He doesn't want to hug you. He sees
Mm.
that shiny
Yeah.
thing, and he'll go for it quickly.
Oh yeah.
So away
Oliver.
from.
Yeah. One day Oliver he's got a phone that his mom made him. It's a
Yeah.
cardboard box. She did a really nice job on this. And he thinks it's his phone. And so he picked up the phone the other day and he said, hello. And my daughter in law, Sarah, asked Oliver, hey, who's on the phone? And he actually held up his finger, like, shh, I'm on the phone. So kids pick up stuff that we don't. And again, when we brought our kids home from the hospital, they didn't tell us. Yes, there's a million books about kids, but they just don't tell you how smart they are and how quick they pick up on things. You're like, where did they hear that?
Yeah, absolutely. And they hear it. They watch you. We're
Oh, yeah. And their powers of observation are just off the charts.
absolutely.
But the technology, I mean, that's all they're going to ever know. It'd be, secondhand that they'll always have a phone, a computer, whatever the next new thing is. And it'll just be like, yeah, this is what we know. Just like we knew wiffle ball bat and a wiffle ball and duct tape.
Yeah.
When you play so long, the ball breaks, you just tape it back up and start the game again. So,
Well, we got into my history and being a biologist and all. I really do consider myself kind of like a naturalist, like Walden type.
mm,
And obviously, I'm a different place now with business brokerage and all the social media and everything. But I have a great appreciation for unplugging and
mm,
the ambiance and the sound of just being in a forest and listening to birds. I mean, that's something that we can't forget about. It is so easy to get sucked into your phone. It will control you. I mean, it's becoming more and more obvious. And like I said, the kids it's a magnet. It pulls them right
yeah.
into it. So I just think it's good to be aware of that pull.
Yes, and I think somewhere some medical school is starting a new program, and I believe it will fall under carpal tunnel syndrome, but it's the texting thumb syndrome.
Yep.
That
Text
there will
neck and
be
texting thumb and yeah,
Yeah, there will be some sort of program that, "Oh, I'm a doctor of thumbology," or, whatever they're gonna call it, but
coming.
these generations are gonna have problems with their thumbs.
Absolutely.
Oh, stuff like that just cracks me up, but it's real. It's
It's
very
real.
real, so you have the last thing I can tell is you have about 3, 6, 9, about 13 initials after your name. And you had mentioned earlier you're adding some, but getting rid of others.
Yeah, yeah. So you want the breakdown?
There's always learning. No, I don't really care what the letters stand for. I just want to know how many you going to get?
Well, I I think I'm just dedicated to lifelong learning,
Yep.
and the MBA is something I'm proud of, but I'm just focused on always developing new specialties within being an intermediary. So I recently became a certified mergers and acquisitions
Mm.
professional. So there's 5 letters right there, and that's going to replace the certified business intermediary, which is a
Mhm.
similar certification that I have. It doesn't replace it, but I'm climbing that ladder. I want to
Yep.
learn more and more skills to serve clients. So um I don't, that's what I do. I look at my signature, I think that's too long. I'm going to take off the one before the most recent one that I achieved, because I have met those folks and the initials go off the business
Yeah.
card, and I don't think that's necessary.
I think in the
Success for me
finance,
would be to say, "Hey, Neil, what is that? What
yeah.
is that credential?" And I'll be able to explain to them why I achieved that and why it helps me serve my client.
Yeah, I think financial planners tend to have a lot of initials after the last name.
Yeah,
Does Now you are a franchise.
yeah,
Okay. And VR business brokers, if I'm read the information correct, have sold more businesses in the world than anyone.
that is correct. That is
So
correct.
the resources and the team and the information you have behind you is pretty much everything anybody would ever need. What role does Vivian have in your business?
Vivian is like my rock. Um, I, to be able to, there's a firewall there where she has her job. She's a medical lab technician. I've got my firm, and when we come home, we both had stresses in our days, and I can ask her permission to share one challenge that I've had at the office, and she can do the same. But we just help balance each other. That's the way that we work together, and I think we try and respect each other, not to uh, to burn off too much steam, right? Because you can always do that with your spouse. Like, it's great to utilize them as a resource to get something off your chest, but you don't want to just push all of
Mm.
your stresses onto your partner. So that's kind of how we work together.
And she might help you if you have some, let's just say, personality conflicts at the bargaining table.
Oh yeah, your wife will let you know where your weaknesses are for sure. She is, yeah, and that's one more attribute is a lot of the pleasantries, and she's extreme. She can be extremely direct in a good way.
Mhm. Hey,
So
I
she'll cut right to the quick.
see now I'm a fan of that. And there's two parties here. One is the people that really want to know, like me, because I truly do. Just give me the truth. I'll
Yeah,
process it, but just give me the truth. I can handle that. And then there's these other group of people that say, Neal, I just want the straight truth from you. And they're lying because they can't
Sure.
handle it. To quote Nicholson, you can't handle the truth.
I have the new intake form for my clients, which is how we handle
Mhm.
information.
Yep.
I am going to be getting information from buyers of
Oh, yeah.
why they don't want to buy your business. I'm going to use that personally, but I want to know, would you like me to give you the granular details, or do you just want the top level information? And it's 50-50. Some
Yep.
people say, give it all to me. I want to learn from this. Other people say, don't tell me about it. I don't need to know that.
Just tell me yes or no, they're interested, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I like the ones that say, I want to know it all,
Yeah.
because we're going to use that to improve our product.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you did anything bad or wrong. It's just something that it's just, they may be looking at the business different. And, change isn't bad. I just always assume or always have gone under the impression that change just means new information.
It's true. It's
I got
true.
I got no problem with that. When we work with our clients, we always ask them, okay, when we see you going down the rabbit hole, what do you want us to do? And then they tell us either talk me back up or just let me go. I'll get myself back up. But again, good information to have when you're dealing with personalities.
I don't think you can spend too much time talking about communication.
Yep.
It's a conversation I have very early with people is, okay, when I need to get a hold of you, can I text you? Is this a safe number to text you on?
Yep.
I've had people give me an email and then they get a confirmation that they're going to have a meeting with a business broker and they blow up at me. And it's like, how dare you email me that we had an appointment? Well, you gave me the email. Well,
Yeah.
so I have to, just the nature of my business, I have to go out of my way to say, is it okay to
Yeah.
send you information? Is this the best way for us to communicate?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I love reminders. I got
Yeah,
no problem with that. And there's some people that do it on an hourly base, on a daily basis, and they'll give you, hey, and looking forward to our meeting in 24 hours. And that's a little much on that, but I like those because everybody's busy and I'm a
sure.
squirrel kind of guy. So it's what noon coming up on noon Eastern at 2:30. I may have forgotten that I have a 4:30 meeting.
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
no problem with that, but you're right on the communication, especially when you're talking you're talking about their world, their business and their financials are their world.
absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of people give me their wife's email, or we have protocols, text and then call because they want to step outside to have a conversation with me.
Yep.
So
Oh,
you be
yeah.
careful in my world.
Yep. I'm with you, man. Well, Neil, we've enjoyed having you on the show. Best of luck finishing up 2020 and hope 2021 gets off to a good start. But more importantly, you're a dad and you're loving it. And that smile looks very good on you.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and your audiences. I love what you're doing here, and onward and upward, my friend.
There you go. All right, Neil, good luck and have a good Thanksgiving with family. And we'll see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.